The first lady attended. She looked nice. Jill. She
Of
had like
the
a beautiful no, first lady of the United States, Jill Biden. She
Oh,
went with her granddaughter and they looked lovely.
what did Joe not go?
Joe didn't go. No, he had other things going on, I guess.
Hmm, interesting. I would have thought
Yeah.
he would have been there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there probably was some scheduling stuff. I don't know.
I'm sure. I mean, being president or whatever.
Got a lot of stuff going on.
Is that even hard? I'm just kidding.
Hey, man.
Oh my God.
What? Like it's hard?
I could totally be president.
Totally. And then not have a mental breakdown every day? I don't think so.
Dude, I have one in my regular job.
Yeah, right. Right.
President, piece of cake.
Totes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Blair.
And I'm Kirsten, and we are
Mediocre
content. And I
content.
am still feeling the party from last night.
Ooh.
Just very unusual for me.
She said, come through. I have a hangover.
My headache is finally gone after we spent like the last 2 hours chatting, so I'm
Oh,
feeling a little bit
good.
better.
You should take some Tylenol for your headache.
Oh, I did. I
Oh,
did.
good.
Yeah,
Good.
it definitely helped. I didn't even this is the thing. We didn't even
Mm.
drink that much. It
Oh,
was one of our friends is like really into like craft breweries and craft
sure.
beers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
apparently anytime that they hang out together as a unit, they will bring in different types of beers that they've found or different local brewery beers that they found,
Sure.
and they'll
Yeah.
split them. Because apparently some of them are like 20% as a
Oh.
beer. And whatever the last one was, it was like a great stout. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge stout fan.
Oh,
Love
she
it.
is. Mm-hmm.
It hurt my I had to wake up early for a nail appointment and I really thought I was gonna die.
Oh no.
And it was split. It was split between four of us.
Oh God.
So I just want to put that in perspective. So I'm rare form today.
She is. She's rare form today. It's good though. It's all good.
But it's gonna be a great episode.
It is. It's going to be a great episode. Um, just, before we get started, as per usual,
Mhm.
we are not experts on anything. Kirsten is not an expert on planets.
No,
But she does reference the NASA website quite often.
I do.
So just be aware of that. And then if you want to learn about fun things that you may otherwise not learn about in your day-to-day life, please come and join us. Otherwise, you know, do your own research, fact check us. We love it when you do that. It's the best.
Please.
And I know that sounded sarcastic, but I really do mean it.
Fact check us. We freaking love it.
We love it.
We really do.
And yeah, so just use your judgment. Be adults. You're doing great. It's good. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. I'm going to take us into the good news though, real quick before we get into that. So I have a little preview on Mars.
I'm so happy.
Because that is our next planet, if I am not mistaken.
Yes.
So this is a little update preview before we go to the next planet. So the Chinese Zhurong Martian rover recently found evidence of salty liquid water droplets that indicate that it may have had snow and frost on Mars as recently as 400,000 years ago.
Wow.
Which, some would say, oh, well, 400,000 years ago doesn't seem that recent. And I would agree with you.
Sure.
But to put that in perspective, scientists believe that Homo sapiens evolved around 300,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it is possible that our earliest ancestors may have walked the earth the same time that water was present on Mars, which is kind of cool, especially when you think about like the big, how when you talk about evolution and science and they say that like human existence is just like 11:59 on the clock
Sure.
compared to like everything that's happened on Earth
Right.
since its existence. Like that's pretty good, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
in relative perspective, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So through calculations, that have previously demonstrated that conditions for water are possible on Mars. This is the first occasion in which evidence of liquid water has actually been found on the planet.
Amazing.
So we knew, and because that is old news, that we knew that water could be on Mars. But now we have actual physical evidence, which I think is lovely.
Perfect.
The study team found important morphological features on the dune surfaces, such as crust cracks, granulation, polygonal ridges, and strip-like trace. Salts in these dunes, which are estimated to be between 0.4 and 1.4 million years old, cause frost or snow to melt at low temperatures to form salty liquid water.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. So basically, they found all of
Mhm.
the prints in the soil that made it seem like there could be water flowing at one time, and then they actually found some liquid water.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the geophysicist at the Science Academy of, or the Chinese Academy of Sciences, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
Said, we inferred that these dune surface characteristics were related to the involvement of liquid saline water formed by the subsequent melting of frost or snow, falling on the salt containing dune surfaces.
So it's like, even if it's not just like a proof of water, it's proof of other types of weather.
Yes,
which
also
is
that.
also highly important.
Yeah,
because that influx of weather is what our water goes through.
Yes,
as well.
Exactly. So we see this evidence of the changing states of water as well.
Right.
So the discovery was hailed by the IGG team as providing key evidence of liquid water at Martian low latitudes, where surface temperatures are relatively warmer and more suitable for life than that of high altitudes. The Zhurong rover, which was part of China's Taiwan-1 Mars exploration mission, landed on Mars in 2021, and at the landing site at the southern edge of the Utopia Platania, which Kirsten will tell us more about when we go over it in the next episode, or the next planet episode. The largest impact on the base. So that was the large. So the rover that landed there was the first one to explore that area of our solar system.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, and that's like pretty much it.
Yeah.
So basically, they found more evidence of water on Mars, which is very exciting.
And it's exciting because it sounds like a weather event, which is exciting because that means Mars had weather, which also means Mars may have also had seasons.
Yep.
Which could be interesting.
Or at least different climates at different places on the planet.
And ironically, we'll kind of almost a little bit touch on that in today's episode about Venus, because it's a similar story, sort of.
Okay.
It's not exact, but it's interesting that this is coming up because it's gonna tie in really nicely to what we're gonna talk about today. Something about our sister planets, like our, they're just right next to us. They have obviously similar characteristics because they're so well, I say so close, but you know what I mean, like close enough.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Nice segue.
All right. So now we're going to switch gears for a brief moment, and we're going to talk about the Plant Hotel in Singapore. So in case you're planning a trip to the other side of the world, in the richest city-state, aka Singapore, the biophilic Capita Spring Tower in Singapore is now fully bursting with publicly accessible urban forests.
I've heard about this and I'm so hyped about this.
I had until I saw this article, but it's very exciting. So In Singapore's business district, you have to go 17 to 20 stories above street level to find wide open greenery.
Mm.
On the Capita Springs Green Oasis floor, accessible to the public, a spiral path winds through gardens and small replicants of tropical forests, like the kind that stood there before Singapore became the urban city that it is.
Mhm.
On the roof, 3 rooftop market gardens supply fruits, vegetables, herbs, and flowers to 3 on site restaurants, and trees grow in nooks in the building's
Facade.
facade,
You nailed it.
facade, as often as windows. So, ground broke on this building in 2018 under the supervision of 2 of Europe's greatest architecture firms, the Carlo Ratti Associati, which sounds really Italian.
Yes, it does.
And the Bjarke Ingels Group, which sounds Swedish almost.
I was gonna say I don't know what that sounds like, but it's not Italian.
It's not Italian. So due to the unique character of Singapore's urbanism, both extremely dense and green, we decided to make the design a vertical exploration of tropical urbanism. Like a vision of a future in which city and countryside, culture and nature can coexist, which I think is just so beautiful.
So
It's
beautiful.
lovely. In total, the 51-story building houses over 80,000 trees and plants across 90,000 square feet of landscaped area.
I didn't know the numbers. That's incredible.
It is. It is. It's a reflection of the belief of the nation's founder, Lee Kuan Yew, who referred to the city-state as a garden city. Despite 6 million people filling an area smaller than greater London,
Mhm.
plants are easy to come by and are in fact a legal requirement for building regulations.
Nice.
Yes. As a result, Capita Spring is just one of the several biophilic skyscrapers and other large buildings in the area.
So cool.
Singapore really be, experimenting with the possibility of having a forest in a skyscraper.
Yes. I mean, honestly, number one, it deals with air quality control in urban areas that have a lot
Totally.
of pollutants. So
Totally.
that's number one. But also, 2, it keeps things cooler. It also positively impacts like greenhouse gases and the pollution overall of a big city. Because the reality is, you have to have a city these days. There's just too many people and too many jobs in one area.
Yep.
So
Yep.
makes sense.
I agree.
I love it.
So that's the good news for everyone.
I freaking love it. And I love that one of them was space related.
Yes, I knew you would. I tried really hard.
It's kind of turning into Blair's Science Corner too. I'm not going to lie.
I thought about that and I was like, you know what? These are the best ones that I could find. We're just going to go with it. It's okay.
I like it. It's just
going to be
slowly
fine.
morphing in. I mean, it's all good news. Even if it was
Yeah.
called Science Corner, it's all good news.
Exactly. And it's all like usually good news. I'll say it again. It's
Mm.
all about like either science related or it's like about animals, which is science related,
Yes.
or it's about like a cure for cancer, which is science
Science
related.
related.
Like it's always about that. I don't
Yeah.
know why.
Maybe we just gravitate towards it and we just find the
Maybe.
science and everything.
I don't think I'm that much of a nerd, but who knows, really.
I would disagree.
Thanks, bro.
Nerd fam. I'm going to continue to nerd out on the space theme though.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Uh,
Oh, I thought this was about razors. My bad.
It is not about Venus razors. We are going to the planets.
I thought we were sponsored by Venus Razors for this episode. You're
Can
wrong.
you imagine? That would be awesome. I mean, kind of, I guess. I don't
That would be
necessarily
wild.
subscribe to it, but it'd be cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
if Gillette wants to sponsor us, that'd be cool. For
Why
this
not?
episode, we're talking about Venus. The episode is called I'm Your Venus, I'm Your Fire. So
I definitely did not steal that from a song lyric.
no, she didn't. Absolutely not. Not a well-known commercial.
No, not at all.
I'm just going to take us on a side tangent really quick.
Please.
I would be way more impressed with razor commercials if they were to like use their razor on like a really hairy leg or
Yes.
like an animal of some kind.
Yes, I would agree.
Because they're already shaving in the commercials. They're shaving
Shaving
smooth legs
shaved
already.
legs. Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, what the heck is that about?
And it's actually, this isn't even just women related, it's men too. If you watch their face shaving commercials, they are clean shaven already.
Already. Yeah.
There's nothing
I need
there.
a manly man with a beard and then just like take it off.
I want to see it start to finish. Okay. I also want to see you struggle in the shower, figure out where to put your leg. I want to see my struggle on TV.
I want the whole, I want to feel represented in my shaving experience. Absolutely.
Yes. And then I want to see it in one of those like hotels that has just a walk-in shower with 0 pedestals, 0 benches. And I want you to show me what you would do.
That's right.
I just want to see the contortion happen.
Cut to them like just shaving in the sink.
just I've decided to screw it and just do it in the sink. Because nobody definitely has experienced that. Nobody. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
So Venus, the planet. So we are talking about Venus today, and it is the planet and not the razor set. Again, I'm just on a kick. We're just going to run through it. I would also like to say I'm going to skip over Earth, so Mars will be next. I'm going to save Earth till after Pluto, just come back to that. Because, I mean, we talk about Earth a lot. It's just kind of, old news.
That's fine. I'm not offended at all.
Okay, good. If you we're still going to do that way.
I know.
Just kidding.
Just skip on over us, Kirsten. We're not important. I understand.
We're also not as fascinating, in my opinion.
Well, we already know a lot about it, I guess.
We do. I mean, we live here, so that makes sense. But we don't live in places
we go here.
We go here. Venus, on the other hand, is actually considered Earth's twin. And you would think that odd, considering Mars and all the research that we've done there. But it's Venus, actually. If you don't know, Venus is the second planet from the sun. We did talk about Mercury already. That was great. The distance Venus is from the sun is about 66 million miles or 107 million kilometers. And it is 38 million miles or 38 million miles or 61 million kilometers from Earth. So a little bit closer to us, obviously.
Nice.
The one-way light time to the sun, again, this is how long it takes for sunlight to reach the planet, is about 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes. And I think Mercury's was like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 3.5 or something like that.
So it's obviously further away from the sun, so it's going to take a little bit longer for the sun to reach the planet. That makes sense.
Yes.
What doesn't make sense are the next sentences I'm about to say. So I'm going to say them, and then I will allow you to see if you see the problem.
Okay. I'm ready.
The length of 1 year is 225 Earth days. The length of 1 day is 243 Earth days. Do you feel the difference?
Do you feel like it?
Do you feel the disturbance?
I don't like it at all. So it doesn't even rotate a full time when it goes around the sun.
Correct.
That's stupid. And I don't like it.
We're going to talk about it.
Is it because she's big? Is she a large one?
Is it because she's thick? No.
Is it because she's thick?
It is not because she's thick.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. So just let that rest on your mind for one more second. Similar to Mercury, Venus is considered a terrestrial planet. And again, those are 4 types: gas giant, very gassy; super Earth is just a rocky world that's bigger than Earth; Neptune-like, very gassy, but the size of Neptune; and terrestrial, rocky and physically harsh. So my personality traits. So the reason that you might be complicating the numbers between a 1 day and a 1 year situation for Venus. Venus's axis is actually backwards relative to how other planets spin on their axis. So, for example, Earth may be spinning clockwise rotation, but horizontally or vertically, or whatever the word I'm looking for is. But Venus is doing the opposite of that. So if Earth is turning to the right, Venus is turning to the left.
Okay.
Okay, so that's number one.
Sure. All right.
Um, Also, the planet itself is spinning slowly backwards.
Right.
So
We
this
established,
caused,
yeah. We
yes,
established it was very slow.
very slow. And it's not because she's thick, she's just slow.
All right.
So Venus has one day longer than a single year because of that backwards slow rotation. So overall, it says it should take sunrise to sunset about 117 Earth days ish, something like that. I don't know,
Ugh.
whatever the
So
numbers
that's
are.
like 12 hours,
Yeah,
roughly.
something like that. So that's why it's weird.
I
Uh,
would hate living there. Oh my God.
I mean, it's not like you're going tomorrow.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it would be,
It would be
you would
weird.
think because it was so close to like where we are in relatively
I mean,
that it would
yeah,
be very similar in the way that it
yes.
turns and everything.
Also, just to make you a little bit more uncomfortable, that also means the sun would rise and set differently as well.
That's
So,
true.
sun
That's
rises in
true.
the west and sets in the east on
East.
Venus.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I hope that made you just a little more uncomfortable.
Eh.
You're welcome. Um, Orbit. So Venus actually has an orbit closer to the sun than you might think. You might think that Mercury has a, that better proximity, but again, Mercury has that kind of egg shape
Oval.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So realistically, if you're looking at it from an orbit standpoint, Venus is actually seen almost rotating in line with the sun in some cases, and is technically then closer relatively. It will also exhibit phases because of that as well, like
Hmm.
our moon. And it's considered a full phase rotation from new to full of Venus is about 584 days, whereas our moon is, of course, 30 days, basically, give or
Yeah.
take.
Much less.
Much significantly less. And then also Venus is considered to be named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty. Venus is also one of the only planets to be named after a female goddess instead of a male god. So like
Mm.
Neptune is,
Yeah.
a god,
Mercury.
a man,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, she's a goddess. What
She is a queen.
she is a queen. But this is what she looks like. So she has a diameter. I didn't do radius this time. So she has a diameter of 7,000 miles ish, which is about 12,000 kilometers. She does appear a little bit yellow. She has thick yellow clouds that swirl around her atmosphere, and she does actually have an atmosphere.
Wow.
I
How
know.
developed.
Oh,
How nice.
wow. She's next level. You would need an extremely thick, pressurized outer shell to avoid being crushed by the weight of her atmosphere. This would push you down about 0.6 miles or 1 kilometer deep in the ocean. The atmosphere is mostly carbon dioxide, so the same thing that is in our greenhouse effect on Earth. Hint, hint, wink, wink. With clouds composed of sulfuric acid. And at the surface, the hot, high pressure carbon dioxide behaves in a corrosive fashion. But a stranger transformation begins as you get higher because that temperature and pressure actually begins to ease. So, like, if you were to walk up a mountain that's really high on
Hmm.
Earth, your pressure would
Hmm.
increase and stuff like that. It's actually the opposite on Venus. So
Great.
she's legitimately like the twin that is the exact opposite.
Opposite. Yeah. Also, if the clouds are composed of sulfuric acid, that means it only acid rains.
Isn't that great?
That's great.
What a
I love
great
that. I
environment.
love that for her. She really be out here being like, y'all can't come here.
I
Mm-mm.
know. She said, good luck.
Good luck.
And we'll see that in our exploration section as well.
Hmm.
It's really
Good.
tragic.
Oh no.
Her structure is very similar to ours. She has an iron core enveloped by hot rock mantle, and the thinnest of skins formed a rocky exterior crust. It's very thin. Sometimes in that thin skin, it will change form and erupt. So she actually has many volcanoes on the
Mm.
surface,
Mm.
and it just kind of depends on how the heat and pressure is going on underneath that mantle area. So,
Mm.
she always exploded, but she has no moons and no rings. So Nobody put a ring on it yet. Her landscape overall is valleys and mountains for the most part, and again, just inundated with volcanoes of all types and structures. Its surface feature, most named for real and mythical women, include Ishtar Terra, which is a rocky highland area around the size of Australia, and that's at her North Pole, and an even larger South American sized region called Aphrodite Terra, and that would stretch along her equator. She does have a mountain that reaches 36,000 feet or 11 kilometers, which is, or 11 kilometers. Why is my brain having a struggle with that?
No, kilometers is correct, or kilometers. I mean, really.
But I say kilometers. I don't know why my
Kilometers
brain
is
just like,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's really weird.
it's all right.
36
all right.
feet. The point is that one mountain is higher
Not
than
30.
Mount.
You said 36 feet. That is not 36 feet.
36,000. See, that's what my
Thousand.
brain couldn't catch
All right,
up.
all right,
Yeah.
all right,
That was
so
weird. 36,000 feet.
Yep.
Which, if you don't know, is higher than our Mount Everest. And notably, except for Earth, Venus has by far the fewest impact craters overall as a rocky terrestrial planet. So, technically a really young surface comparatively. Okay. As we discuss in most things related to planets, potential for life is an important factor for some reason. Like, are we moving or are we not? You know,
we're not.
Straight to Venus.
We can't go there. Oh my god.
Well, clearly, I'm about to tell you why.
Go ahead.
It's really sad.
I'm sure.
Get your tissues out. It's going to be a little sad moving forward with the potential for life for Venus. So the reason is Venus may have once been a habitable ocean world, but that was about 1 billion years ago. Essentially, what they are hypothesizing, which is horrifying given our current climate, is a runaway greenhouse effect turned all the surface water to vapor that would slowly leak to space, creating the current volcanic rock being blasted at high temperatures and pressures and taking over the rest of the planet and overheating it. And now this is what we're left with. Venus is a great example, in my opinion, of what we are striving not to do. And this is this is segueing away from NASA. This is my words now. In my opinion, based on the research and based on what NASA has to say about what we have collected in terms of data on Venus, great example of why we should be studying these neighbor planets in form of direction of what could happen realistically, you know? And in contrast, with things that could make other worlds right, we should also be looking at Venus and looking at things that could make this very bad, longevity wise for Earth. So that's just my take on all of this. The planet could accommodate earthly life, such as extremophiles currently right now. Those are microbes that actually thrive in these extreme environments, which we actually have those on Earth as well. It's not planet-wide, it's region and environment within the Earth-wide. Yes. But essentially, these extremophiles thrive in these environments, and the atmospheric pressure at about 30 miles up or 50 kilometers is actually similar to that of Earth's surface. So it's like you have these extremophiles, but you also have these similarities in pressure where our life that is not an extremophile could thrive potentially, even in its current state.
So like currently microbes that live like in heat vents and at the bottom of the ocean and stuff like that are the same ones potentially that live in Venus.
Yep, exactly.
Cute.
And they only survive because they can, because they just they can just take it on. They're just amazing.
They're small microbes that have very limited amounts of needs.
Exactly. As you can assume, also Venus then has some crazy weather that's going on. I know. So Venus has 0 seasons. The temperatures remain high. This is due to the measly 3-degree tilt that's compared to Earth's 23 degrees tilt that provides us our seasons in certain areas of the world. and also a factor that makes life on Earth more bearable. You'd be surprised how 20 degrees can make such a difference between the two.
Apparently. Yeah.
Venus can also have winds upward of 224 miles an hour. That's 360 kilometers an hour. And its surface temperature ranges of upwards of 900 degrees Fahrenheit or 480 degrees Celsius. And that is enough to melt lead, which has a melting point of 621 degrees Fahrenheit. So
Cute. Love that for us.
So if we were to leave there or leave here and go there tomorrow, we would 100% be melted.
And so like in addition to the pressure, so if we like made a suit out of something that could withstand the pressure, it would most likely just get melted anyway because it's so hot.
Absolutely.
Super fun. Love that for us.
And think about this structure wise too, because they always think about they always discuss for Mars, for example, like, oh, we could put like pods on Mars and live in pods because they're like structural spaceships that just sit on the surface and stuff like that.
Sure.
You could not do that on Venus because of how pressurized and heat resistant they would have to be, and volcano resistant. And earthquake resistant, because if you don't know about volcanoes, they usually have some form of earthquake associated with it.
Correct.
So you're talking all and not even to mention the freaking 224 mile an hour winds whipping by you. Like, it's a little ridiculous.
It's apocalyptic for sure.
She is her own, you know?
Yeah.
She just embraces herself how she is.
You know what? She's the only girl of all the planets, and it's tough being a girl.
It is. You know? I bet they call her dramatic too.
I know. You probably do.
With her extremophiles.
That's right. And her acid rain.
She's always erupting. She's so
dramatic.
Okay.
Poor thing.
For real. But we'll talk about maybe her younger years after the break and then the inferno that she came to be.
Great. Can't wait.
See you after the break.
Welcome to the ad segment of this week's podcast. Normally, we have something witty to say that would segue you into the second half of the podcast, but not this time. For this ad break, we've created a random groove segment built exclusively for the vibes. Enjoy these calming tunes before you come re-immersed in all things mediocre content.
Wasn't that nice? Always good to set the mind at ease, if only for a few seconds. We hope you enjoyed this calm transition to the next half of the podcast. See you on the other side. Welcome back. We're still talking about Venus. But we're going to talk about her younger years.
Great.
She ain't looking that great right now, but she's gone through quite a few changes over the billions of years that she's been in our system. So, formation. In reality, these are all theories, and they're not fact. They're just what we think has happened. And that is because of our exploration section, which we'll get to. So a critical question for scientists is searching for life among the stars. How do habitable planets get their start, which is what we consider Venus to have been, a habitable planet. And the close similarities of early Venus and Earth and their very different fates provide kind of like a test case that we were talking about earlier for how it could have been formed and where we might be headed, essentially. So they have a similar size, their interior structure. They both harbored oceans in their younger days. Obviously, Earth still has theirs. Oh, thank God. But obviously, one went down a very different route at some point. And comparatively, Earth still has its abundant life, its oceans, its overall structure still intact in terms of seasons and weather, sort of, in some areas.
Right.
And so the factors that set these planets on almost opposite paths begin what they think most likely to be the swirling disk of gas and dust in general from which they were born.
I thought you were going to say like swirling disc of doom.
No, it's just gas. She just has gas.
Just gas. My bad.
So if you smell something, it's Venus for sure. Somehow between 4.6 billion years ago, that disk around our sun formed, cooled, and then settled into the various planets of our solar system. Several might have well moved in closer or further as the solar system moved. Obviously, Mercury's got that weird orbit happening, so he still don't know what he's doing. But better knowledge of the formation history of Venus could help us better understand Earth's. And it sounds like I'm talking around in a circle. You want to know why? Because that's all they can do. Their exploration out of 40 spacecraft that have been launched, very few have been successful for any country. And there have been at least Japan, the USSR at the time, and us that have tried desperately to make Venus happen. So 3 new Venus missions are anticipated to launch within the next decade.
Cool.
However, there's been a lot of misfires that they are trying to learn and overcome from.
Mm-hmm.
So focusing on the US for a second, NASA's Mariner 2 was the first spacecraft to visit any planet beyond Earth when it flew past Venus on December 14th, 1962. And you might be thinking, Mariner 2? What? Is there a Mariner 1? Yes, there was. It failed drastically in 1962.
Okay.
However, Mariner 2 gathered data in a 42-minute scan that would forever essentially change how we view Venus. It revealed Venus's runaway global hothouse as it is now, and kind of vaulted the understanding of what went wrong in the climate and how close it was to Earth. So that was really important. Exploring Venus is obviously difficult because, as we talked about, it's got a lot of heat, pressure, and winds and volcanic activity. The longest any spacecraft has survived on the surface is little over 2 hours, which was a record set by the Soviet Union's probe Venera 13 in 1981. So it's a lot, and that's why it's taken so long for us to regroup.
I just imagine a bunch of guys sitting in a room and they're like, okay, guys, we've gotten past the 2-hour mark. Everybody stay calm.
And then it just flips off.
Yeah.
Oh my God. NASA's Da Vinci mission is next up with a planned probe landing in 2031, but it'll focus on atmospheric descent. So just getting in its atmosphere. But there is also a chance it will send surface data back for a few minutes. It just cracks me up. I know that there's geniuses working on this, but these are the strides that we're trying to make on Venus. We just want to land.
She's like an onion. She has layers.
They're like, you get past the atmosphere, and when you touch her surface, you just instantly incinerate.
You die.
So how do we
die.
fix that?
Oh God.
But NASA's Veritas and ESA's Envision will follow with orbital observations, which are a little more safe, and that will happen in the 2030s. They don't actually have to touch down; they just have to orbit the planet.
Orbit is good. I mean, so I have a question about orbiting, because it doesn't have any like moons or anything orbiting it. Does it have a strong gravitational pull?
That is an excellent question. I assume so, but I don't know. But what I can do Venus's gravitational pull.
We love a good Googling.
And then what I'll also do is Earth's gravitational pull, right?
Reasonable. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So Earth has a gravitational pull of 9.8 meters per second squared.
Okay.
Venus has an 8.87 meters per second. So it
okay.
does have I mean, we have a moon that orbits us with our gravitational pull. So realistically,
so she could have a moon if she wanted one.
I mean, she could, yeah.
Yeah.
So she's single and loving it right now.
Apparently.
So also to just kind of put this in perspective, successful missions, as I have stated and as we have divulged, there ain't been a lot.
Good.
Out of the total 31 missions, 32 if you count a semi-successful encounter from Japan in 2010, which we can for the sake of science. Out of those, there have been 30 to 32 successful missions and 11 failed out of 43. So it sounds great, but most of those successes were because they were flybys or orbits. If you are looking at the total count of landing successes, it decreases even further. So, but we will talk about some highlights, I guess, from the US, because there's not many anyway. So as we talked about, Mariner 1 had an impact failure in 1962, so they tried and failed successfully. Also in 1962, Mariner 2 had a flyby success, which, as we talked about, was not only the first, but also provided us the initial info.
I love it, like, because it was July and August, like it was like back to back when they launched. I love that they were like, so the first one's probably not going to work, so let's make a second one.
Regroup. Already had it on hand. What's interesting,
yeah, it was like they had the backup ready to go.
What's interesting to me, though, is it goes from Mariner 1 and 2 to Mariner 5 in 1965. Oh, no. So from 1962 to 1965, there had to have been a 3 and 4 that just never made the news because
or they just never made it off the ground.
That's fair. Or maybe they were delegated to another planet. That's also fair. You know, also maybe Mariner 5 was just for Venus. I don't remember what the ones for Mercury or the moon were. So, but I remember Mariner in general. So maybe that's just what happened.
Maybe.
But Mariner 5 had a flyby success, as did Mariner 10 in 1973. And if you don't know, the flyby is literally it flew by the planet and that was its end all be all. But there's also an orbiter success, which means it did find orbit around Venus for a period of time. And that was successfully done by the Pioneer Venus 1 in 1978, with an impact success for Pioneer Venus 2 in also 1978. And that was May to August.
I love the same situation.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to make another one just in case.
And they both served two different functions because one ended up orbiting, one had full impact.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that impact lasted, but it's,
I'm also curious about like what materials they're making these things out of.
That's a great question. In 1989, there was Magellan. It had an orbiter success as well. Galileo, October of that same year, had a flyby success. And then in 1997, so we went from 1989 to 1997, the Cassini had multiple flyby successes. So that's cool. We're increasing the amount of time it's in space, taking data, even if it's not orbiting. And then that was the same story in 2018 with Parker Solar Probe, which also had multiple flyby successes. So didn't catch an orbit, but it did fly by multiple times and sent back data. So nice. That's a win to a point. And then also, as I mentioned previously, there are missions in development. So in 2029, they want to be able to deploy and use the Da Vinci, which is hoping for an orbiter and atmospheric probe situation, and then the Veritas in 2031 as an orbiter. It's just going to try and be in its orbit / atmosphere, which is probably the best we could ask for. Yeah. I mean,
Nice.
also, I want to be very clear that this is just the focus on the US. So during this time, the Soviet Union and Japan were also sending things out, and you can look at the different time frames that was happening in the link that we provide on NASA's website in our description. You can go on there and it gives you the full list of all the successes and failures for all the countries and exactly what type of function their the craft was supposed to provide them.
Yeah. They also have, which I'm looking at right now because I was
Mhm.
curious to see if we could find like the materials
Mhm.
some of these things were made out of.
Yeah.
They have a page for each individual craft.
Oh,
So like
cool.
the
Okay.
Pioneer Venus 2, it says like what nation it was and what the objectives were and like all the different instruments and stuff that it was had aboard.
Nice.
And then like how much it weighed and stuff, but it does not say like what it's made out of. I feel like
Yeah.
it's probably not general knowledge, but
Well, yeah, it could also potentially be confidential knowledge because I would
Mhm.
also like to point out that this is also in addition to like the moon and Mars and exploring space, there is the space race, which we talked about in our first solar series episode. And so what you don't want to do if you're competing with other minds is tell them exactly how you're being successful or how you're
Right.
failing because you're anticipating them kind of going the same route as you
Right.
and figuring it out on their own without having to just divulge, which I get, but as a scientific mind, I'm also like, share. Like,
Yeah.
like this is a shared knowledge and we should all be like, collaborating. That's what makes science fun.
Well, and the thing is I think as a society, we're moving more towards a global
Yes.
society anyway, with like the internet and everything.
Mhm.
And like, if we do, excuse me, if we do establish another like society on a different planet, it's going to be like a global
Yeah.
effort. It's not going to, well, hopefully, who
Yeah,
knows really how
hopefully,
that's going
right.
to turn out. Hopefully it'll be
Mhm.
like a global thing, but
Yeah.
you know,
You never know.
you never know.
I think science is great. Obviously, that's why we're doing this series as well. I like space, but I also enjoy science. We enjoy science. And so I think it's important, especially in these discoveries that could influence either life on Earth or otherwise. I
Mhm.
think it's a good idea to expand and share that knowledge.
You know, you would think.
Yeah, because I don't think Venus is great, but I don't think we want to be looking like her anytime soon. No offense.
I mean, yeah. Honestly.
She a queen, but she a little temperamental.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And she's backwards.
Yeah, that still bothers me. It's like everybody else is going the right way, and then Venus is like, nope, I'm gonna go backwards.
You just had to be different.
This is why she doesn't have a moon.
She's attention seeking. She
I
destroys
know.
every craft
She
that
has
flies near her.
attention-seeking behavior. Right.
But that's all I have for today.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll just say, feel free to send us an email with any questions, comments, or episode topic suggestions at mediocrecontentpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You can also rate us 5 stars on any platform that you get your podcast. And send us a tweet at send us a tweet at Mediocre Squawks or follow us on Instagram at Mediocre Content Podcast. And we will see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.